This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse.
Okay, I'm very excited about this because you've said some things on mic, but inside the membership that I thought the world needs to hear more of this. I kind of want to work backwards. Can we
Okay,
do that? I haven't done that in a
sure.
minute. Let's talk love story.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go from a business standpoint into this because I know a lot of stuff. CAA came a knocking after Kiss of a Spider Woman,
After
prior,
we filmed it, before we,
before it came out.
yeah. And
Before
they
it came
didn't
out.
come knocking. I went knocking.
Oh, you went knocking?
Yeah, I
I
went
thought they
knocking.
came a knocking.
Mm.
Okay, so then tell me this. Okay, so then tell me that part because I think we usually when we're talking on mic with certain actors, CAA is usually one being like, "Hey, what's up? We'll take you now because we know that you are going to make money." Tell me
Yeah.
the pitch. Actually, we have to go, then we have to hear this audition story for A Kiss of a Spider Woman. We have to hear that first.
Okay.
We have to go there.
So for Kiss of the Spider Woman, I was tired. I was just tired of the strikes had just happened. I think I just exited a relationship, and I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like one of those moments where you
Hmm.
just keep asking yourself, like, I do this, but for why do I want to do this any longer?
Let's talk about that because people write in all the time and they're like, can you actually talk about the middle parts? And so to catch the audience up that are they are listening, you at that point before Kiss of a Spider Woman, you had done large reoccurrings on a couple
Yeah.
of shows. We
Couple
have
independent
Vida,
films,
a
yeah.
couple of great independent films, but you were on Vida for a little bit. Then was Promised Land the first series
Series
regular, or was that
regular. Mhm.
also series regular? Then there was another one, series regular. So you had been working. So this moment of what am I doing? Do you think that was just because of the strikes or because we had time to think?
To be
Or,
honest, I think my natural vibration is just anxiety.
oh, yes,
Yeah,
I
for sure, for
understand.
sure. But also, I think when I was younger and committed to something, you don't really know what you're committing to, and you don't know what the feeling is, and you don't know what the lulls feel like. And I think that it's a
Exactly.
natural part for any creative to start wondering, what was this all for? And I think sometimes you start to, at least for me, I don't want to talk about anybody else, but like sometimes I start to wonder, oh, what am I getting out of this? Because this is technically a job, right? And so what is my life reflecting? What is my job feeding into my life, not the other way around? And I think
Right.
for so long, up until that point, like if a studio came a call in, I was like, you know what? I know I have a wedding, but I'm gonna cancel. I'm not gonna go to the wedding. I'm gonna go to the thing because I need to. That was my priority.
Of course.
And I
Yeah.
think at that point in my life, I was just like, wow, I'm in an empty apartment and auditioning for who? Who am I performing for? You know?
Yes.
And
Talk
I
to me
was
about this more. Yes.
I was just fed up. I was tired. I was just like, I think for some people, they've always been like, I'm a theater kid at heart. If I'm not an actor on the screen, I'm gonna kill myself. And I've never been that person. I've always wanted to fall in love and have a family, and I enjoyed telling stories for a living. And I'm competitive, so I'm like, I want the best story. I want the best character. I want to do my best. But I didn't build a life around me, and I was like, wow, I fucked up. And so I was depressed. I was honestly so depressed because I was just like, I've worked and I have enough savings where if I want to pivot, I could, because I'd rather have consistent work and a husband than not.
These valley
And
moments that we have to sit in. Yeah.
yeah. And also maybe live in the valley. I don't know.
You're like, that's fine. I can pack it all up now. We're going to
Let's
go
go
to
to
the
the valley.
valley. We're
I'm
going
out
to
of
get a
WeHo.
husband, and I'm going to
Yeah.
get a 9 to 5. That's all it is.
Cheers.
I've done it.
Right.
I've done it.
But okay, so then I think because of the strikes, I was just like, I don't know how long this is gonna last. And COVID was brutal. Like not working during COVID was brutal. And just because I'm a workaholic. And so I moved apartments and I was like, okay, maybe fresh energy is gonna change it up. And Kiss of the Spider Woman, I entered my email. Actually, no, I got an email first. It was like December 20th, 22nd. And I was just like, okay, I know this person and I know this IP. Huh.
You did. You already knew it.
I did. I didn't know the musical, but I knew the book and I knew the play,
Okay.
specifically the underwear scene,
Specifically, yeah.
specifically. And so I was like, I know this person. And so I called my friend up and she came over and we recorded it. But this thing happens to me where I get rusty and I just don't know how to explain it. It either like aligns or it just doesn't align.
You mean
Like,
the audition itself, like the character? You're like, okay, I don't have to do a lot of work for this. I'm just stepping
no,
in, or
no, more so like my mindset and my instrument. There's a moment where I'm hungry. And when I'm hungry, I like activate, like the cells in my body will activate. And if I'm not hungry, like it's like the difference between, sorry, this is so gross, but like a hookup versus like sex that you love.
yeah, I
Right,
don't
so
think that's not gross. I think that's very relatable. Where you're like, okay,
so like I
done
did
with.
it, but like not
Uh-huh.
what I want. And
Yep.
so I did a take of it and it was good and I submitted it. And then I just it didn't sit well with me. So I like looked at the tape and I was like, this is good, but it could be better. And so I just sat in my room by myself and I had a camera on me and I rehearsed it, but I rehearsed it on camera. And so I would rewatch it and I was like, oh, no, chin down here and eye ping on that and whatever. And so I redid it and I did it two different ways. I did the song very camp and then I did the
Uh-huh.
song very sincere because both those things are ways that you could direct it. I don't know. And
And
I didn't know
again,
what they
you're
were.
making a tape. It's if you know the play. And who is the director of this? It's Condor.
Been Bill
Who's
Condon.
Yeah, Bill Condon.
Yeah.
So
The
you
Dream
can,
Girls wrote
yeah.
Chicago.
So you could deduce some stuff tonally, but like I love that you're sending in two takes. Do you mind if I get into a little process stuff? Like when you first taped the scene, the audition scene with your friend, what did you lay down that later you were like, it wasn't more technical that when you were watching it back, you're like, oh, I want to make sure I'm hitting this eye line here, chin down. Was it more technical notes or was it more craft notes for yourself?
So the technical stuff was mainly for the musical aspects of it.
Okay.
The scene, like I did think about like how do I want to reveal myself? So I started with like my back to the camera, pinning
Uh-huh.
up, and then turning around and then blah 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 to hook you. But it was very dialogue heavy, and so I just really just needed a sharp start and then jumped in. But for the musical, that's where it was more like, oh, actually, I have to choreograph each of these beats to the music.
Yes.
And because it was choreography, like the music doesn't change. And so then each of my choices was like even where I looked, like there was a little ding in the music and I'd be like, ding, you know,
Uh-huh.
and so like I had to choreograph it, but the only way to do there was no way for me to do it in rehearse without a camera. Like I needed to rehearse my entire thing on camera, and I think I did easily like 50 takes. Where I was like, I watched it again. I was like, no, that's still shit. Oh, I'm not hitting that on time. Okay, let me do it again. Okay, let me get the shawl. Let me do this. Let me do that. And so once I was able to do it, the emotions already were there. I'm a crybaby, so it's like fine.
That's not something that you have to really, that's something you have just dialed up for you.
Yeah, I just have a really sensitive instrument. Maybe it's BPD, maybe it's talent. Who knows?
A little bit of everything. We're
A
going to
little
call it
bit of
talent.
everything. Who gives a shit?
Yes. Yeah. Had you already had submitted a tape when you said you made one tape?
Yeah, the day before.
Did you already send it to your
Yeah.
team? So as you're reconstructing it the next day, did you tell them like, wait a second, don't send it? Had they already sent it to casting?
I'm sure they did. I don't know. I didn't care.
Okay. Yeah.
They do what I told them.
No, I just think that's good to, just from a standpoint of, so that next day, once you did the 50 takes, you found something, then were you like, hey guys, actually send this?
Yeah, no, I just was like, hey, I reviewed the tapes and I wasn't sure if they wanted a naturalistic approach or if they wanted a camp approach. So I did both. Here's the two additional takes. Please flag it and send it to them. This was like December 21st. So everything's about to shut down.
Right.
Then casting sent an email December 22nd and was just like, don't move. Then January 2nd, 9 a.m., they were like, hey, we want to see him in New York. So I flew out and then I did the scene again and I brought my own props because I had already rehearsed with my props.
Yep.
And it was and I brought my own costume, which I'm glad I did because they were going to provide costumes and props. But the person who was bringing them got stuck on the L train from Brooklyn and they couldn't do it. And so an intern had run to Target to go get stuff, but I just was like, I already have it. Don't worry about it. Whatever. And I'm not a musical theater trained actor. I like musical theater. I like singing musical theater songs just because they're so emotional. But that was my training, is singing in my car.
I-
And maybe
That's
one
the
class
part.
that I took in college.
So now you're at this callback with other musically trained people, because I do know
Not
a
just
couple
musically
people.
trained, that's all they do. They're weaponized music
Yes.
theater people.
Yeah, I know one of the people, I'll tell you off mic, one of the people that was in the top three with you to get this, that is their resume. That is everything. And
Alexander?
yeah.
Mason Alexander. Yeah, no,
Yes.
I know who all the girls were.
Yeah.
I
Okay, great, great. Because his experience of this audition process ends up being heartbreaking. Like most of our audition processes are heartbreaking when you get this far into it. Also, when you, like you said, you open the email and he had the same reaction where he's like, I know this person, I know who this is. But we have this all the time when you hear, oh, McConaughey was going to do that part and then Brad Pitt did it. You're like, oh, wow, would have been a great movie either way, but just
yeah.
totally different. And you see where one person goes and you see where another person goes. So you're sitting there with all these people. I think the confidence of, I already brought my shit. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I even moved the lights because like the lights were in a configuration that I didn't like. And so I was like, "Do you guys care?" And they're like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, if you're gonna put the camera there, then I want this there." And then I was like, "I'm gonna move the bed over here, and then I'm gonna do that there." And so they were just like, "Okay," because I didn't like I'm we do self tapes all the time, and I also understand lighting, and I wanted to give
Yes,
myself like a close up with light, and so with a shadow on my face, and so like if the camera's there, then I needed the light here so that when I go here, this part's dark and that part's light. And so
beautiful.
I was just like, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so the acting part was like fine. There was a moment where, no, the acting part was fine. It was the getting over the nerves of that room because I'm so used to just acting in my home
Yeah, yeah.
and, or I'm on set, but I haven't been in a theater in a New York theater. It was like my first time at the MCC. And there's Bernie and Tiffany, and I don't know these people, but they're legends,
Yeah.
and then there's Bill. And so I had to get over my anxiety. And I like,
What did you do? What specifically? I don't care what it is, but I think people ask, that's the number one thing. How do I get over my anxiety? People have told me
well,
beta blockers.
no,
People,
okay, I was gonna say that because I just saw that floating around on Instagram. Somebody was
yeah.
like, "Oh, a beta blocker." I didn't know what that was, and I also have ADHD, which I wasn't medicated at the time for. So my focus was all over the place. But I just went to the restroom and barefoot because my character was in a prison, and I just didn't think about it. And the cold of the feet, and I washed my hands, and I was just like, "Who cares? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?"
Yeah. You've already
So
won. You're
well,
already,
maybe I won, but I just was like, who cares? I just was like, I'm gonna just do it. So the scene was good, but then the song came up, and I'm not a naturalistic actor. I wish that I was.
you don't think
Like,
so?
my naturalism comes because I rehearse the shit out of it, that every movement feels a little bit freer.
Hmm.
But especially for choreography in a song, I'm not over here like, oh, and then I'm gonna do an arabesque, and then like I don't what? I can't. The first two takes that I did, I was a little like stiff because it felt like, oh, I'm singing the song and I'm doing the thing, and now I have. But then I was just like, I literally just, I just need the 5 minutes. Just look away for a second. And so then I was like, okay, here I'm gonna do that. Here I'm gonna do here, and blah, 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 blah. So I did it, and then I just was free. And Bill stood up and clapped and was like, that was awesome. And so in my mind, I was like, ah, wow, I did it.
You did
But I also wait, oh, before that, I got a little insecure because when they were warming me up on the piano, like the pianist was just like, "Oh, we're gonna do an arpeggio," and I was like, "I don't know what that is. Just you do it, and then I'll mimic it." And he gave me the
side eye.
stankiest eye. Yeah, who is this? Nobody. But then once we
No.
started, I don't know. I don't practice
Yeah.
singing like that. Like I'm just not a singer. I'm an actor. And but once the song came on and we started doing it, he was like, "Oh, we can do it." And so I could see the pleasant surprise in his face.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, so then the dance call happened, and that's my weakest leg.
You can't tell it by watching the movie. I
Because you'll
know, but
never
like
tell. You will
you'll
never
never
tell.
tell with
But
Tona.
that's the weakest. That's my weakest leg, and it takes me for because of the ADHD. It takes me forever to learn choreography, and but not these girls are professional dancers. They're
Mm.
like ka ka ka, and they're like, oh, got it, and they'll do it. And so we did a Bob Fosse number. And again, I'm not trained in Bob Fosse. I'm not trained in tango. Like I'm not trained in anything. I just lying.
Trained.
And thank you. And so they're doing it, and you could tell like the assistant choreographer, who I later discovered is Bill's right-hand man, was just so, what is he doing? and it would just go out of my head. And I would get anxious because when I wouldn't get it right, like I would get like
Mhm.
anxious. And so I had to stop myself again. I was like, who cares? Just have fun. So I did it and we did it together and it was good. But I confided in him. I was like, oh, thank you. I was trying to be generous. I was like, thank you so much for your kindness. Like, I'm not really a dancer. And so it's helping me to whatever mistake. Because then he told that to the rest of the team.
He told that to Bill and to like the casting.
Yeah, where he was like, he's not really a dancer. And he admitted it.
That's not fair. Actually, I like this part of the story because we know where it goes, but
So whatever. But then the tango came on. And I'm friends with all these people now, so I can make fun of it. But it was difficult for me to learn the tango because I'm not a natural follower. I'm like a leader in dancing. And the person who was teaching me had like very follower energy, like big bottom energy, basically. The
Mhm.
choreographer had big top energy. And so the choreographer at one point was like, no, it's not like that. It's like this. And he like manhandled me and I was able to feel it. And I was like, oh, got it. Because it was like it had that leading energy. And so I was like, oh, okay, if you're going to lead me, I will be led. And so when Bill and the team came in and it was time for the tango, I did it with the assistant choreographer and it just was like not working. And I was just like, I don't like it. And so I was just like, they're like, okay, thank you so much. And I was like, absolutely not. Can you do it with me? And I pointed to the choreographer and he goes, you want me to do it with you? And mind you, this is Sergio Trujillo. He's a multi-Tony award winning choreographer, director. I was like, yeah, you. I don't know who he is. I was just like, yeah, come here. You're like, I just need your energy right now. And so he's like, okay. And so we did it, and I was able to do the whole thing fine. And so then they were like, oh, that was great. And I was like, thank you, Sergio. I'm so sorry. I needed a different, like, I like to be manhandled.
Please tell me you said that
Um,
out loud because that's perfect.
they thanked me. Bernie was really nice and was just like, what's your musical theater background? You're so talented. And I was like, I did a musical theater thing in high school. That's it. And I sing in my car. Mistakes, but I was just being sincere.
I'm
Like,
glad you were. I'm glad.
no, because I didn't get it.
Wait,
I didn't get it. They passed.
they passed.
They
So then
passed.
how do we
I
come?
flew home and they passed. And I was so sad. I was like, fuck. I felt it in my bones. Like I really thought that this was it. And I was like devastated. And so that's it only intensified this desire to move on with my life and stop acting. And my mom was over, my mom's like 60 something, and she came over and I was like helping me put away dishes and we were talking and I was like just like sad. And she spent the night, which she never does. Like she hates my houses, but she spent the night and she felt sick. And I just remember like feeling sad and looking over my text messages. And then I started looking at the deadline articles for the movie. And I was like, they were looking for a discovery. They were looking for this. And I was like, wow, that could have been me. I'm so sad. And so I like lit a candle at 3 in the morning and I just said, you know what, God, I know that I have an obsessive mind that likes to ruminate. And this, I felt it in my body that this was spiritually connected. If this comes back to me, I'm going to give it my all. And if not, I'm ready to let it go. And so the next morning, my mom and I go get a coffee and we go to my old apartment to just like finish sweeping and cleaning it out. And I get a call from my manager saying Bill Condon has emailed you and he didn't CC anyone else and what's going on. And I said, what? First of all, I booked out. Why are you calling me? Second of all,
I'm quitting.
what are you talking about? Why will Bill Condon ever email me? That's weird. And so I looked and lo and behold, there was an email that said, Tona, I have been having second, third, and fourth thoughts about you, and I would love for you to do a table read with Diego Luna, a chemistry read with Diego Luna. You can also tell me to fuck off. Love Bill.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. And Bill's very funny. And I said, sure. I'm down as long as we make some magic. And I remember screaming at the top of my lungs, like, yes, fuck, I'm in it one more time. And so I sent out my little birds and I was like, somebody reach out to all the assistants at Bernie Telsey's company and find out what the note was. Like what went wrong.
Hmm?
And apparently I just looked really young. And Bill had imagined someone looking older.
Huh.
And so
Okay.
I hired a makeup artist and I was just like, age me, bitch. make me look hideous. I shaved my face. I refused to break character the entire time we were talking. And then we did it.
What
And
did they do makeup wise? Did they do crow's feet? Did they
yeah, they
actually
highlighted like the crow's feet and my 11s and my whatever. And then
brilliant?
we did,
A little under eye?
yeah, like a little darkening here. And,
Just gave you like a 10 to 15. We gave you a mid 40s look. We gave you.
what? Like, let's say mid 30. No, I'm just kidding. No. But no, it was good. It was really good. And
Wait, and you also said if I get a chance at this, I'm going to give it my all. Did you do anything different? Because those weren't the scenes that
they were the same scenes. Nothing changed.
it was the same scenes. Okay. Did you go ham on like what did you do rehearsal wise for yourself before you stepped back into that test other than
I set up the space. I was overachieving because like I had this camera here, so I could just act to the camera. And it just was wrong. Diego even was like, babe, I need you to like just look at me. Are you looking at two cameras? Just look at the one.
were you on Zoom?
I was, yeah. He
Ah,
was in Spain.
okay.
So yeah, so that's what happened. And then 3 days later, Bill said, call me. And I did. And he said, you got it. And I said, are you lying? And he said, why would I lie about that? And I said, I don't know, but if you are, that's very mean.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, are you happy? And I said, yeah, I have to go now. And I just hung up.
Tell me
And
about
then I
it.
cried. And I called my mom and she screamed. And then I called my agents and they were like, what the fuck? And this is amazing. And then I called Bill again and I said, I need a list of every musical that you're going to reference in this film or any film that you're going to reference because I'm going to watch it. And he and I were talking about the character and I realized I only had 2 weeks to like finish moving into my spot and start working on it and then go to New York and start rehearsals. And I freaked out because the character is a prisoner in Argentina. And I was like, oh, I need to lose weight. Like I was 190 to 20% body fat. And I was like, how do I get there? And so for 10 days, I fasted, no food, no water. Actually, I did do water, but no food.
What'd you
And
get down to? Male physiques are so much different than females, but just out of curiosity, you definitely McConaughey this moment where you're like, what?
actually, McConaughey was one of because I kept looking, I was like, how do actors lose weight like this? And McConaughey was just like, I ate a can of tuna and a lot of wine. So I couldn't do that, but I just stopped eating and then I kept going to the sauna. And then I'm like not small, but I'm not huge. I was
You've got
bigger,
muscle, you've got muscles.
but I was bigger then because I was
Mm.
doing CrossFit to get like the leading man body or whatever. And I was like, no, I need these boy arms to atrophy. And so I was
Yeah.
like, I can't have a drop of protein. It can only be like little carbs and, whatever.
Yep.
So once we went to New York, I got this like meal service called Sakura, which is like all up
Mhm.
vegan. And so I would only have one of those a day just to keep my energy up. And then
How long
Sakura
was
got,
rehearsal? How long was rehearsal before you start shooting, actually?
I would say like a total of 30 days,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe less. But we were dancing every day. And so I was doing heavy cardio. I was on a juice fast. But like I don't have body dysmorphia. I just had a goal.
You had a goal. You
I
had a
had a
goal.
goal.
Look, we use our whole instrument, right? It's a visual medium, like you said. McConaughey did it for Dallas Buyers Club. You
Uh,
want to look a certain way for a certain amount of time, and then moving on.
and then you
This
move
is it.
on. It's not like
Yes.
I didn't have babe, I love to eat.
How long was actual shooting for you guys? How many days did you guys get?
Once we started shooting the musical, we only had 17 days to shoot 11 numbers.
Whoa.
Yeah. So as soon as like we would do it, we had 12-hour days, nail, bada bing, bada boom, and then you get out. And then the set was destroyed, and the next day was like another number. And that's why you needed someone like Jennifer. Jennifer does,
She's amazing.
she's literally a lightning bolt.
She
Like
is a lightning
it
bolt.
is just bam. And you're like, whoa, how did you do that?
Tell me what you learned. Look, you're number two on the poster. Like you are it. And you're also working off of somebody like I worked with Jennifer 12 years ago, 14 years ago, and I was radically impressed by her work ethic.
It's
I
amazing.
really was. I really was. She had her acting coach there. We had everybody was there getting her ready, prepping her up. What did you walk away from in that experience as an actor?
I think that we have a lot in common. because so at first I was a little anxious of meeting the Jennifer Lopez.
Of
When we first
course.
walked into the
Yeah.
room, I was like, wow, that's really her.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
But
like,
then,
that skin at J-Lo,
oh, it's
man,
amazing. She's beautiful.
there's not a mole on there.
Nothing. But then I have this like thing where I just don't care who
Hmm.
you are once we're acting. I'm like,
You
whatever.
can't be a fan and in the game at the same time. So
No.
like
I mean,
that
I'm like
has,
nervous to be my natural self around her at first, or to crack an inappropriate joke, or to be like,
until a couple days in and you realize she actually really likes that
oh,
and
she loves that
she
shit. Oh my
loves that.
God. We were like
That's where I
twerking on
started.
set. Like it
Yeah.
was so much fun.
Yeah.
But I want to be respectful. But as soon as they call action, I'm like, no, fuck being respectful. I don't be crazy. Like I got to
Mhm.
do my thing. But watching her, she's so aware of the medium. So she's like, okay, I see the camera. She hears, oh, they're throwing a 50. Great. I know what that is. Oh, there's the
Mhm.
marks. Got it, got it. Like she watches her like takes and stuff, which like I do too. Like everything that I just described before,
In your process,
that was my
she's
process.
doing.
And if she
Mhm.
needs something, she's not afraid of being like, oh, actually, can I get this? Or can we rewind? Or can we? And like her level of communication was similar to mine. And I remember watching like her and I was like, oh wow. And then at one point she was talking to herself, like while she was like, giving herself notes. And the way that she talked to herself was almost identical to the way that I talk to myself. And I literally was just like, we're the same. Like,
Same.
which is, it's good and it's bad. I don't know. Because sometimes I'm very hard on myself.
That's what I want to talk about. Look, you're a star, and that vehicle, all it did was put light on your fucking path, man. I can't believe that all you were at that point was a car singer where you're just in the automobile blasting out. Like it's such a beautiful piece of work that nobody can ever take away from you. It's there, right? It's not even something that was on stage that it was like, do you remember that flash in the pan moment where I was on Broadway for 8 months doing this play? Because we don't get to, like, we have this forever and always. So to get to a place where when we started this interview, you were like, I'm done. What am I doing? Where is my life reflecting? What am I getting from my work? What am I obtaining? To now this place stretching you and shining on you. Where do you go mental wise after shooting something like this?
After shooting it,
Yeah, after shooting
well,
it,
after the
after
musical
working.
part, that we had the prison scenes and we shot 90 plus pages in 2 weeks. We were shooting 6 pages a day and it was 6 to 11 pages a day and it was mainly monologue, like literally mainly monologue. And Bill originally was like, okay, what if we like shoot the master and then shoot all of Tona's coverage wide, medium, close, and then flip it and shoot wide, medium, close. But I was like, you want me to do 6 to 11 pages continuous, wide, medium, close? Okay.
Here we
Let's do
go.
it. Like
Hey.
my attitude was just like, let's do it. And we ended up switching it up and we did break it up into chunks to make it a little bit more palatable or like easier because it was a lot to memorize. Like continuity then became a little bit harder. But then we started rehearsing before each scene. Like on Saturdays, which was supposed to be our day off, we would spend another 12 hours just rehearsing.
Damn.
And then Bill would get like I would get an idea or Bill would get an idea. There were moments where he was like, oh, we're missing something. So I wrote you another like chunk of dialogue. And I was like, great. And we're shooting it next. And I was like, amazing. I love it. Thank you so
I-
much. I got it. And then, or he's, do you know how to crochet? And I was like, no. And he's like, what if we show the passage of time by you crocheting something and then it gets larger and then your mom wears it at the end? And I was like, that's a beautiful thing. Let me go learn how to crochet. So in between takes in my lunch, they taught me how to crochet. I was like, I think I got it. I got it enough where it's believable. Don't worry about it.
Yes. Getting
Like
the shit out of
out of
this.
all of it. And so it was so purpose driven and it was so like I have a little bit of Capricorn energy and I
Mhm.
like running my things and I like having a collaborator who trusts me and I like being able to I'm very sensitive, but I have thick skin. So when something's not working, I don't mind someone being like, hey, look here. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, you're right. I look terrible. Thank you for letting me know. And then I'll fix it.
Yeah.
But it all came to a crashing end. And then I was purposeless again. But in my mind, I was like, okay, I no longer have an agent because A3 fell.
That's what I wanted to ask. I'm glad you told me
A3,
too.
yeah, I'll bring it back.
Yes.
A3
Okay.
fell. And the buzz around the movie said that I got cast, but nobody was interested in meeting with me.
Seriously? Did they know your billing? Did they know the
They didn't
role?
care.
They didn't
And it was
care.
frustrating because for me, I was like, wait, hold on. I was in I was a recurring guest star that I got because I was a co-star, and then the showrunner was like, we want him for 3 seasons. So I was a recurring guest star that landed me on the cover of the LA Times.
That was
Of
Vida,
Vida.
right? That was for
Yeah.
Vida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
God bless
done like
Tanya.
5 different guest starring in like people's shows, whatever. I have multi seasons in a voiceover thing for Nickelodeon. I did a series regular for a network, and I just finished a studio action feature with Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman, Carry On, and I can't get a meeting with an agent.
So glad you're being honest about this right now. Because, yeah, what the fuck?
It was I'm sorry, huh? Please. I literally told my manager, I was like, make that make sense to me. Try harder.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I sent him, I was like, can you send me your email that you're sending to people? And he did. And when I read it, I was like, no wonder I'm not getting in the door.
Do you mind sharing how they were positioning this opportunity?
It was very like, it was selling me like, hey, my client Tonatiuh just got off of this film. Would you be open to having a meeting?
Okay.
And
How did you reframe your
I
selling
literally
point?
went, like I listed what the way that I just listed it before, and then I was like, put this hottest picture at the very top, and then show all these different characters in the very bottom, and then highlight my name, and then show like the different places that I have. I have a spreadsheet of every single casting director that I've met for the last 15 years. So here's a list of all of my top favorites that already know me and love me. Here is the brands that I've already established a relationship with, and here are the producers that love me. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, this is already a business. I don't need you to develop
Mhm.
me. I'm not some kid who got lucked out. Now, I act like an ingenue because unfortunately, a part of my neurodivergency is that I forget who I am. But it pissed me off. It really pissed me off. And so I then started, I was like, you know what? I'm going to triangulate. I called all my producer friends and I was like, hey, which agents are like the ones who are up your ass, who are good at their job, who are amazing? And they gave me a list and I was like, great. And so then I had a list of all the agents and then I went through CAA, WME, I went to UTA, I went to Gersh, and then I was like, okay, let me look at all the clients that they have, who are the ones that I respect, who are their agents, and let me come up with another list of people that I want. And then I looked at the list of people that were vouched for and the list of the people that I like inferred, and then I did this, and then I was like, okay, we have 4 names here. And I was like, all right, who has access to this person? And then I was
Mhm.
like, call her, call him, call him.
Great.
If I did you a good job, fucking call him. And so they did. And they did. And then that got me an audience with Tracy Brennan, the
Yeah,
legend.
I love Tracy.
She's
She's great.
amazing.
She's wonderful.
And she called me in and was like, what are we gonna do this shit or what? And I was like, yeah. She's like, you've been bugging me, so get in here.
I love that.
Which
Yeah. And
which was
she loves
great.
a good work ethic. Look at her roster. I've got a couple of my best friends are with her and they really, they work. And that's what you just did is you took an email and showed your work. And you're like, who wants to be on the team versus this hierarchy of, would you mind? No,
Oh, but I also wasn't coming in there feeling sorry for myself. I wasn't asking for a
no,
handout. I'm like, I've
exactly.
got a bunch of stuff that's lining up. Let's tee it up and let's go
Yeah.
in together. And now, would I have done things differently? I think it would have. I don't know how to let go of control sometimes. And I
Mhm.
also recognize that I may forget that I know people, but people do know me. And so there was a
Mhm.
moment where like I went into like when I was talking to people at UTA, I'm like, oh wait, I actually know I hang out with a bunch of UTA agents already. I just forget that people have jobs because I don't
Right.
care. That's just not
Yep.
something I care about. Like I don't care about what you do. I care about who you are. I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid.
No, I think that's a beautiful, again, you're going in and seeing the person versus, I think that changes. And I think sometimes it takes people some time, as it should. All the things that you just listed, that's a 10-year run of great work, of understanding the business, and then coming in and having a conversation with another person who also has hopes and dreams. Like they're agents because they want to do X, Y, and Z in their own
Yeah.
life. They already have their also path. I think it takes a while. When you first start out as an actor, there's this, please pick me, please help me get an
Yeah.
opportunity, please give me an audition. And then that needs to shift at a certain point, I think, for you to get the right teammates to take it to the next level. And you'd already done that level.
But I guess what I was trying to say was like once I signed, there were friends of mine who I forgot were agents were like, why didn't you give me a shot? And I was like, I
Ah,
completely forgot you were an agent. I am so sorry. I
you're like,
uh
also, why didn't you come a knocking? Why didn't they come? Were
well,
they
apparently people are really respectful and they're like, oh, we just figured, I don't know. Anyway, not the point. The point is that's how it happened. And advice that I would give someone if they were in a similar position where I was given this advice, but unfortunately, I didn't, not unfortunately, but I just didn't, I just do whatever I want sometimes. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I do think that it's like dating. It
Mm,
really is like dating. And so if you're the one who's chasing, sometimes the dynamic is a little bit different than when someone really chases you.
100%?
And so once the film came out, like people started chasing me. But by that point, like I was already in a committed relationship and I'm like, I'm taking boys. You know what I mean? But
Huh?
I didn't have the faith that people would come and knocking at my door. And so I was like constantly selling myself because I was already in the habit of constantly selling myself. And so I think in the future, as I'm navigating the industry and dating, allow natural energies to come to me as opposed to trying to like force an energy.
Yeah, I again, great retrospect, but you also didn't know what the film was going to be. I do think, because I wanted to ask you about this, if you'd be willing to talk about it, the publicity of something like this, that's a whole other machine, right?
Yeah,
So prior to the film coming out, that chase mentality still probably needed to be there in some regard because who knows? Like the film I did with J-Lo, $50 million film, guess what? Tanked. And
it was.
I'll tell you reasons why later, but like, you don't know where that might go. But now that you have the experience of, oh, I don't have to chase anymore because I have this piece, like people know who I am now, they know my work. Will
But that's
you?
not enough.
And sometimes that's what I was going to say. Will you talk
That's not
about the
enough.
publicity part of it? Because I know you did so much on your own to really get people in the seats in the theater, to really get people to go and see this awesome piece of work that you specifically did. You're the star, man. I'm going to say it right
Thank
on,
you.
like, you stole that show. It was yours.
I
You
appreciate
made
it.
that prayer to God, and God was like, okay, here you go.
I can't cheat my word with God.
Mm-mm.
I can't. And I honestly was, the film didn't perform the way that we desired and wished, which was heartbreaking. And I don't think anybody,
Anticipated that.
I don't think anyone could have prepared me for that.
That's what I wanted to talk about. If you'd be willing to share, you've climbed this mountain, and I want to thread the business side of it because the work's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Did you find yourself back in that mental space, or were you at a different place mentally?
No, I don't know. It was I don't know. It just happened and I also just got over it. So
So a little fresh.
it's a lot of I think things are much simpler than my brain would allow them to be.
Yeah.
And I think because I saw the opportunity in front of us, I wanted to be very intentional and move with intention. So Carry On premiered in December 24, and it was the number two most watched film on Netflix ever. It within a month. And so I was like, holy shit. And then we went to Sundance a month later, and the reviews for the film were great, but the reviews for me were like shocking. I think like Variety said A Star is Born, which I think is such a ludicrous sentence. I was like, what?
I don't think so.
That's very fair, but I'm a self-deprecating Capricorn,
I
and
understand.
so I remember I had a PR person at the time, and I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't know that you could ask to help get dressed. I didn't know that you could like curate these things, and so then it went into waiting. Who's going to buy the film? And in this market, it was very challenging, right? To do that. And so I was in this position of waiting, and then I was calling my agents, being like, I'm so excited, but what do we do? What's the plan? Are we going to get another project? I want to do this, I want to do that, et cetera, et cetera. And by the time that like April came around, I started seeing Jennifer really and her team mobilizing. Like she was going to Broadway shows and she was doing this. And I was like, oh, should I be doing that? Let me go to Broadway and start like doing that. And so we did. And then June hit, and I booked a play with Jeremy O'Harris called Spirit of the People, and I booked American Love Story. And so it was going
Yes,
to
that's when
be
I want to,
it
yes,
was
I
going to be
need
a
more details.
summer of
Mhm.
work. Plus, right around June is when we started doing the long lead magazine and pitches and all that other stuff.
So for people who are listening, hiring a publicist is usually a 3, 4 month lead for you to
Right.
get in magazines, be on covers or whatever. If the project's coming out in November, you want to get them on July, August. So,
Exactly. Yeah. And so it was go time. It was go time. It was like, okay, figuring out who our stylist was. And then the stylist like got really busy. And so then they could no longer do it. So we had to emergency find another stylist to be able to do it. And I didn't handle it the best. I think like I should have hired an assistant or hired a manager sooner to be able to coordinate some of this stuff because I was like momming it. So like single momming it. And it was too much.
hard. Yeah.
Because I feel like it would have really helped to preemptively had all these things laid out. And it felt by the end of it that I was just like hurriedly figuring it out as I went because I didn't know what I needed.
Most people don't. That's why thank you. That's why I wanted to talk to you specifically about it because you don't know until you're already in it. And then
Yeah.
we learn a lot. The first time I had a publicist after it, it was like, shit, I'll do that different next time.
Oh, yeah.
You just don't know unless somebody tells you. And that's not somebody, it's not a conversation that's really easy to call up somebody and be like, hey, I have a huge film coming out. What do I do now? What do I do? I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if I should push. I don't want to, am I good in it? Just all the questions, right?
And then, but even then, there are different levels of like, I don't want to sound rude, but I asked Jennifer these questions and she has a well-oiled machine. So she's, I'll just ask her this person. And I'm like, oh, a that person? I don't have a that person.
Yeah, what's a that
How
person?
do I find
Yeah.
a that person? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If I would ask somebody who hadn't been in a similar position, they're just like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And in retrospect, it was wild. And
Retrospect,
oops,
what would you have done different? You would have brought a manager on to manage the
I would
schedule
have had an
itself.
assistant to like get my schedule on together and answer all my emails
Mhm.
for me because I just didn't have time to do that. I would have hired a producer essentially because a lot of my ambition was to like have community screenings and to have outreach for individuals. And I was also looking at the political climate and I saw how hard it was for somebody to pay like 25 to $50 just to go to a movie
Mhm.
theater to watch it once. And so I was like, oh, how can we help families who are struggling to have like just a nice time? You know what I
Yes.
mean? And so I was raising money, corporate money to be able to do ticket giveaways. And then I needed a digital person to handle the ticket giveaways for me.
Yep.
And I ended up like last minute having three people do it, but it was
It's
challenging because I
a
was
scramble.
doing that and also like rehearsing the play and also getting driven to New York to do an episode of Love Story and then flown to LA to do press and then back to New York for Love Story and then back to the play and then writing these emails. And so it was just, I was spread too thin.
Yes, absolutely. And also people don't understand too with publicity and press, some of it they're like, here's the questions, go ahead and fill that out. That takes hours.
Yeah.
Some of the times it's not just an interview like you and I talking. It literally requires you to build the whole entire thing that they're going to then push send on. So there's a lot of man hours that go into building up this whole publicity team market
And then
situation.
like interviewing people, like we interviewing stylists and stuff. I don't want to
Mhm.
say who I interviewed, but
No, that,
there was like one person I was like, oh, okay, you're the person, it's fine. And then they booked a client that was gonna, they were completely booked all throughout the fall. And so they said yes in the summer, but then by the time we circled back to be like, oh shoot, like now it's time, they're like, I'm so sorry, we're booked now. And so
yeah.
then I was like, oh, okay, let me go to somebody else. And then I think I might have stepped on toes because the industry is small and there's only so many players in it. I think people got their feelings hurt because I was like, oh, he's just bouncing from stylist to stylist. And I was like, no, people were busy or like we were in an emergency having to be in LA. And then next thing you know, we were in New York and the LA person couldn't fly to New York. So it was just like,
It's a lot of organizing.
it
As your
was a
team gets
lot.
bigger, you also, like you said, single mom, you're managing the team as it grows.
And you're
Yes.
figuring it out. You're figuring it out how
Yeah.
to do it. And so
You'll know differently next time.
oh no, next
It just,
time I'm like so ready. And like, yeah. So then the premiere happens. It's great. And it's opening weekend. And I get a call from my agents being like, hey, we're looking at projections and it doesn't look like it's going to hit the way that it is. And I don't know what that means. I'm like, what does that mean? And so I still had 12 screenings that I was going to attend that weekend, and several of which like I was hosting myself.
Mm,
And yeah, so then we get the news and it sucked. And then
yeah.
I was like, what does this mean? And they're like, we're going to be in less theaters next weekend and we're still hoping to get the numbers up and blah, blah, blah. And then the conversation about an awards campaign came up, and they're like, we're still fully going to fund that, and let's see what happens. And so we had a really good run. We got some pretty, it was really nice to get recognized at a couple of film festivals,
Yeah. Yeah.
and getting to go to Italy and Switzerland and Argentina and all these other
Hmm.
beautiful places, and meeting other filmmakers was awesome.
And my favorite is that you had a job that you were doing. So I just think from the business side of acting, it's that once you get something like that in the can and you also have a CAA, I call it the relevancy. It's the ball that's moving. So stuff will stick to it if it's moving fast. If it sits, if the movie would have come out and you wouldn't have been on something already, it might have taken more oil to get going. But since you were already on something like Love Story, that's really fucking helpful. It's just a
Yeah.
bridge from mountain to mountain. There's a little bridge over the valley. So you're like, okay, we didn't have to go so far down in the valley to build back up on this mountaintop.
Yeah, and it was great. I think by the time that December came around, I was just tired.
Yeah,
I was
that's
just
a lot of
tired.
work,
It
man.
was, and it was a lot of executive functioning and a lot of, and I think that I don't know how people do it because in a positive way, but it must be really challenging to have a social life as well.
Or like you said earlier, a husband sitting at home, like getting to have that partnership, that family, everything that you've ever wanted. When you're operating at that level
Yeah.
of output, not only creatively, executively, leading a team, many people being pulled in so many different directions. There's only so much time in a day. There really is only so much time
Yeah.
in the day to be able to execute all things. And that's why you need more people. More people come on, more people come on, so you can get back to the things that you want to do.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From scene study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a two-line co-star.
That's why we created The Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
I have to ask about the audition for either the play or Love Story. Everybody knows Love Story right now, so I want to know the audition for that.
They're both self-tapes.
Both self-tapes, even the play was a self-tape as well.
Yeah, because
I
the play was
just want to
being
know
cast in New York.
after stretching and working, and it's like you had been working for a long time before that, but what did you do anything different with your self-tapes for both of those? Let me ask about Love Story specifically because it's a great part, but I think an audition for something like this, they're the harder parts. What was your audition scene? It wasn't probably a ton of material
No, it
for
was
Love.
I think it was one scene.
One scene.
And I don't think it was in the
I think
show. I don't know. I don't remember, but it was a conversation between Carolyn and Narciso, and I didn't play the way that I played Narciso in the show was not how I auditioned. That those are
tell
two
me
different
more.
people. Yeah,
Okay.
I played Narciso like with this voice and more sardonic and biting. And then when I did my research about Narciso and who he is and how he talks and how he moves around the world, he's the nicest guy. He's like really shy and he's really sweet, and no one has anything negative to say about him. Everyone just loves him. And so I was like, oh, my interpretation of this person was so wrong, but they cast me based off of that. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, how do I land some of these like zingers, but also keep the Rose Nyland like
Yeah.
lovely self? And so that was the challenge.
Was that a conversation with the director or the showrunner, or did you just start doing it yourself? Because I love that you got hired off of a strong point of view. I think a lot of actors They're like, I know the scene. I'm just going to say the words. And I'm like, even if it's the wrong point of view, a strong point of view gets you the job. Even if it's not what they're like, that's not, but you're giving me something. You're giving me a point of view.
I
You know what I'm
think
saying?
one of I think the director for the first episode, who I think made the decision to cast me, he was like, "Oh, I really liked your tape because you kept it very grounded." So I don't know if it was the POV. He's just like, "I liked how grounded it felt," and I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks." And but I think because it's autobiographical, right? Like
Mhm.
it's a biopic. Then it became like, oh, it doesn't matter what my thoughts are. I have to be who that is, and I have to play honor to that person. And we tried to reach out a few times to meet him while I was in New York and to see if there was a possibility of just like sitting in his presence, because that to me as an artist really helps ground
Yeah.
me and it feels like a tuning fork.
You
And I
seem
couldn't,
like you're very good at mimicking. Like you can,
oh yeah, I
that
love to
your
mimic.
ears, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I really like to mimic.
Did he accept this offer? Did you?
I was spread so thin that there wasn't a possibility of me to actually get to meet him. And I also think that he's very shy. So the first
Yeah.
time that I got to meet him was last week. We had a FaceTime and we're just chatting. And so he really is the sweetest guy.
What was his, I won't ask his opinion about the overall show because a lot of people that know them have very sensitive opinions about how they feel about the overall show. But how did he feel about your depiction of him specifically?
He said I did a great job. Again, he's the nicest guy, so I don't think he'd be like, "You're
Yeah.
terrible." No, he was so sweet. I think that for us, it's entertainment, and for him, it was his lived life, and it's asking him to rewatch moments that hurt him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it
Absolutely.
was devastating for him to
Absolutely.
lose his best friend in that
Yeah.
way. And he said that there was a scene where the two of them are in her bedroom and just goofing around. And unfortunately, I haven't seen this cut. I haven't seen the final cut, but I did slap her butt and we were like
Mhm.
playful. And like I said, just was like, they're best friends. Like they have to have that
Yes.
energy to it. And he said that moment, like the silliness and the playfulness of it all was made him cry because like she apparently they lived in the same building and she lived in a studio and he lived in a one bedroom. And so her studio was basically just her closet and she would spend all her nights at his house like every day. And that was their dynamic. And so he said that it really severely
Yeah.
impacted him emotionally watching that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I screamed when you came on. I was like, oh my God, he's Tonatiuh. It was so great. And I have to say, you said something earlier about like maybe being too emotive or you have to ground it down or bring it down. But your expression and the like, even just in the wedding scenes and stuff, like your nonverbal communication of this character in your work is what draws me in all the time.
Oh,
And that was so a part of you in Love Story. There's so much, they cut to you so much for reaction. And to me, it did bring all of the love that we needed to see from those moments and see who she is. But so for the play audition, since that was like you get like how that was so grounded, thank you so much. Here you go, come right into Love Story. Curious about that self tape because a lot of people have been writing in about this, like doing the theater self tape. So, like, how do I do this now? Do I stand back and do I give them a full thing? Am I going more grounded? And then when I get in the theater space, they know that I can stretch and use that instrument differently. What did you do for that self tape?
I just recorded on my laptop and that was it. I don't know. It was like here.
You
The
made it
scene,
intimate. Yeah.
the scene was a conversation. Like it was just a simple conversation. It wasn't simple, but it was a regular conversation between two people. And so I just really focus on being as real as possible. And the character, it was a workshop, and I think Jeremy had given us like the first maybe half of the first act. And it was unclear to me at first, like what exactly, like what the arc was. And so I just made up an arc and I was like, okay, I think it's going to go in this direction. So let me just try and put subtext here to something. And there was a song component to it. And the song, weirdly enough, is called Kukurukuku. And that song I sang on Vida. And so it was so interesting because I was like, oh, that's
Uh,
cool. And so the song is about like losing a love in your life and the heartbreak of it. So much so that this woman cries herself to death and becomes a pigeon, and like the pigeon is still like cooing after her lover. I don't know if it's a pigeon. I think it's a different kind of bird, but whatever. Anyway, the point is,
Yeah.
it was a close up and I just was like singing the song, and it was a little out of my, I'm a baritone. And so that's a tenor song. And so it was a little hard, but it was fine. And then Jeremy and I started texting, and he was like, "Oh, I enjoyed that. And it inspired me to write this." And I was like, "Cool." And so then we just started like talking about his work and what he wanted to create. And I liked talking to him. He's so smart, and I think that the way that he navigates the world is very entertaining,
Yeah.
and like and intentional. And he builds these like big tables for people. He's not one of those. He doesn't exclude people. He's just like, bring more friends, more friends. So it was good. It was really nice.
What a year.
It
What
was a year. It
what a
was a year.
year. Because I was even going to say, now what's filling you up in this time? What's next? But I hate asking people that when they've just come off of a year like that. Like you're such a doer that sometimes asking, what's next? Is anxiety inducing versus are you in a state of just wanting to be right now? Are you being creative? Is the tank filled back up?
I think I lost myself. I
Yeah.
think I lost myself. I think I was trying to, I don't love being witnessed
Mm,
as I am. I enjoy hiding behind the many characters that I create. And I think that, I don't know, I look at the, like the heated rivalry boys and they're having so much fun and they're just like,
they're having a
like
moment
I'm
and they're
gonna,
fine with the publicity.
they
Yeah.
love it. And I get shy. Like I get shy
Yeah.
and I mask up, or I'll try to make a joke to make it more fun, or I don't know. I get shy. And
It's, yeah.
I think that I was trying to be a good boy in
In
it.
the publicity ring of
In
it
the
all,
public
in the
eye,
marketing. Yes.
in
Yeah.
the public eye, I was trying to just be a good boy, doing like crossing the T's and dotting the I's and doing everything right. And that's not interesting. Who I am is more interesting than who I was pretending to be at the time. And I think that like it felt like I was running for office.
I do.
I
And
felt
that's why I'm,
so like, where did my sense of humor go? Where did my sex go? Where did my, like, why did I felt insecure. I think that's what it felt like. And I wanted to do it right, whatever that meant, because it just mattered so much. And I think in that, I lost myself. And then I didn't know how to process like the excitement and the grief and there were just moments where I didn't spend longer than 5 days in my house.
yes, there, I just did a podcast episode about this, and it's not something that I took this from somebody else, whereas a music producer was talking about it's the regulation of the nervous system that
Yeah.
sustains you as an artist. It's both things. It's not the rejection, it's actually hitting an altitude that you're not prepared to hold your breath for or like breathe at that level of height. And and many people do in this industry. Like you get a number one song, and then all of a sudden you have to manage now all of these people and like the next album, and how do you deliver to this thing, right? Or even like you're saying, I'm now being seen a lot. How do I need to be seen? So what should I be doing? It's not something that is taught to actors or musicians. It's only something that can be experienced. And then other people that have hit that altitude that can help you learn how to regulate your system, or you just get another opportunity to do it again, right? So it's
Yeah.
in doing it different. But that is something that is not taught to us. It's not taught to you in theater school. It's not taught to you in any acting class.
The business is also different than the creative work. Like the creative work I'm
Exactly.
not insecure by. It was like, oh, now there's like branding things and now there's these
Mhm.
expectations. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's why I said I think I needed a staff, like a better,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
bigger staff.
And
And
that's
I have to say though, I have incredible friends and a wonderful boyfriend who were my safe base.
Yeah, to go through all
They
those
held
emotions.
their
Hmm.
ground. They not only didn't add more to my plate, but
Hmm.
they held the vibrations
Yeah.
together while I was navigating all of that. And I don't think I expressed enough gratitude for it because it's not easy. Like I can't imagine like loving someone and also they're gone for a month at a time.
And in 2 days' time notice, it's not like you get a lot of notice to all of a sudden, hey, by the way, now you're here, now you're here, now you're here. Yes, it takes a lot of grace to be supported
Yeah,
as
and a lot of
things are
security.
taken up. Yeah, and a lot of security. I'm I'm so grateful that you're so honest, and I know that might sometimes be hard to do in this realm. This is why this podcast exists, so that people can take what they want, leave the rest, but really be able to see, like you said earlier, when you decide to be an actor or want to be an actor or anything creative, nobody tells you about the lull or the shooting to the great heights of altitude or having the success or not getting the job. There's just like this mental part of it is not spoken about too much. So I think it's really refreshing to really get a glimpse inside of it and get the reality of really what it is. And that's a beautiful thing that I think will really help other actors as they navigate. Because I do think if you stay in the game long enough, you have what I call the perfect trinity, right? Great material, incredible role for you, and the world gets to see it, the industry gets to see it, and however they meet it is severely impactful. I can't wait to see what you do next. So from an artist standpoint, like where have you found yourself back in work? Have you found yourself back in the creative lane? I know you said you lost yourself through all this.
Yeah, I think that these are all catalysts and they force you to grow. I don't think that everything was handled perfectly. I don't think every conversation was graceful. But it really made me re-examine my relationship to myself
Yeah.
and recommit to who I want to be now, not just as an artist, but as a human.
Yeah.
And it really made me start to sit and reevaluate, oh, separate from my work, what
Hmm.
is my life? And I think
Yeah.
that's where I don't know anymore. Like where I'm just like, okay, this didn't work, or this doesn't feel somatically well anymore, or I'm no longer that person. So then
Hmm.
why am I in the habit of doing that? And there's also this, I hate to sound so Buddhist when I bring this up, but like Siddhartha Gautama in Siddhartha, obviously, was talking about this concept of the river. And we're like, how does like the beginning of the river and the end of the river are still connected, right? And so it was like, you're here and focusing on this part of your river. But if you had access to this part of the river, then what can you borrow from this part to make this part easier,
Mm.
if that makes sense? And
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to lean in on, where I was like, oh, okay, who am I? If that's where I'm going, who thus must I become and embody energetically to arrive? And so, yeah,
And to let the anxiety, I think,
fall.
fall away, just
Right.
float away, literally using the river analogy where it's like, and this is the next step. This is the next step. What's the next right step? And yeah, exactly. What am I taking from this? That's why I like this podcast so much. So you can be retrospective. You can go back in your career and be like, oh yeah, I fucking did that. And then I did this. And then this happened. And then it went back up. Like you get to really see the lineage
At all.
of a working actor,
But
learning.
it's fun. Go have
It's,
fun. It shouldn't be
yeah,
so stressful. Like, go have
no.
some fun.
What's meant for you will find you, even if
Yes.
they say no to begin with, that little prayer in the middle of the night, and then that was meant to be yours always. So, however we get there, it's almost comical when you go back and you see I didn't get the loss of it, then the gain of it, and then what you actually gained from it, and then however you perceive it as gain or loss once it's all said and done. It's just a learning lesson. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful learning lesson. What are you working on next? Are you working on something right now? Are you taking this time and space?
I've got a couple of auditions out, one for Broadway, one for a film that was shoot in the summer. I'm
What do you,
writing. I've got
great.
a couple of scripts that I've been developing for some time now. What
What do
else?
you want what do you want to do next, Tona? After having that experience, after jumping onto a great story where you're the recur, jumping back into theater, like what is your heart's desire to and mesh yourself in next?
There was a play that I was circling and had was going to bring to Broadway this season, but unfortunately the rights didn't pan out. So maybe next season we might be able to bring it out. I think that it just my soul wants to tell that story.
Mm,
I can't tell you what it is.
that's
But
okay. We won't have.
what else? I don't know. I creatively right now, I haven't really thought about it. I would love nothing more than to do another film. I think
That's what I
something.
was wondering. If you want to step into another studio kind of film, or you
Yeah,
want
I
to,
would be
yeah,
open to that. I think that'd be really fun. Maybe two of them back to back just to keep it going.
keep
But
the momentum.
I'm open to a series. I think that would also be a lot of fun. It would depend on the story and who I play in it. Because a series it does lock you down a little bit more.
It does. It does.
It does, yeah.
But sometimes that lock feels good too, depending on if it's here in LA and like you get to go home and see your boyfriend. Like all the things could work out depending on where it's locked.
But right now, I think what I'm craving is like to build family. I think
Yeah.
last year I was supported from afar, right? But I missed birthdays, I missed my anniversary, I missed my grandma's 90th. And I think like right now I'm starting to feel like a desire for home.
Yeah.
I'm no longer in the anxious space where like silence freaks me out as much because I know that stuff is gonna come and I'll just like when it arrives to my desk or something, I just respond. But yeah, I
I
think
love this
I
space.
want to be a little bit more intentional of, oh, when you have a few months off, I needed December and January to die. I
Mhm.
just needed to die. Like I needed to not answer an email, I needed to not answer a text message, I needed to sleep 14 hours and eat whatever I
Yeah.
wanted. And then once like mid-January, February passed or came, I was like, oh, I need to work out. I am ready to go out into the world. And
Yes.
now it's late March, and I'm like, okay, I am ready to work. What are we doing?
Yes. You had your winter. You had to
Yeah.
have
And
your
it's funny
mate.
because I think because there's this trick that we do, and I'll stop talking in a second, but
No.
there's this brain thing that happens where some people work a 9 to 5 and their rest time is 5 to midnight on the weekends. I don't. I work like June through December with a day or two in between. And then I get Jan or December, mid-December till March off. And then I'll probably work like April to June. And
Yeah.
so it's cyclical and weird. And I think that for people who are going to enter that cycle for the first time, like allowing the silence in between to be like, oh, this is the part where I'm supposed to rest. This
It's
is the
the
part where like,
recovery.
oh, I get to
Yep.
work on the other fun things in my life that I want to do really quickly before having to drop it all again. And so,
Yes. Yeah. And I think the year that you just had really gets to reinforce that recovery time completely. And you don't really know it till you experience it. You
yeah.
just don't. I adore you. I love watching you work. I love your heart. I love how you get to show up. I loved when you came and shared with us the Bridge for Actors. Like you really shared a lot of stuff inside the membership that is not for the outside world that I think really helps other artists be able to mentally understand what we're doing and how to keep going. So for that, I really thank you because it's not just you as a rising star, it's you also paving the way for other people to get on that path and understand what it takes.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't believe in hiding education.
No, you're not a
I
gatekeeper. You and I are the same that way. I'm like,
I
wow,
don't I just don't know what the point of that is. And
neither do I.
there's even been moments where I have been in audition back when we used to do in-person auditions. Although they're coming back. I heard they're
They're
coming back.
coming back. Some few of them are. Few houses.
But there were moments where like I one of my friends was in the room and was like hurriedly running lines. We were up for the same role, but I was like, "Oh, let's run them together." And he knew me but didn't know me and he was shocked by like, "Why would you do that?" And I was just
Yeah.
like, "Because you need help and we're not the same person. Like, and
Mhm.
what I bring to the table is not what you bring to the table. You can't take away something that's already mine."
Yeah, exactly that.
And so
And
I was just
when,
like, I don't know if it's you, then I will celebrate you. And when it's me,
yeah,
we'll celebrate me. I don't know.
exactly. And that's what keeps making great art. It's like we can't have the same person over and over again. These stories just, I feel like I invite that in all the time where I'm like, what a great responsibility if I get to inhabit this story, this role, and how wonderful if Kristen gets it, because I can't wait to see what she does. So it's just so much growth it's an open-mindedness that'll keep you in the game versus that narrow-mindedness that keeps you locked out from great potential.
Yeah, and also like the industry's small. Like sometimes we forget. I forget. I'm not gonna say we. Sometimes I forget because film isn't like theater, right? Like we don't have central houses, we don't have everything spread out, but it is all the same. Like when I started going to all these big fancy events, I was just like, wow, it's the same five people. And then there's Jason Weinberg and he's talking to Tracy, and then there's Frank Ladd, and then you're just like, oh, okay. It's an
Right.
ecosystem. It's
Uh-huh.
friends. It's people have families in it. Like
It's
I
high
worked,
school that never ends.
I did some activism thing with Zoe Winkler, and her brother was the one who directed me on Love Story. And then her father and I are part of the same theater company. And so it's just an ecosystem.
It
But we
is.
forget, or I forget, because it's not like theater where like you see the ensemble every day.
All of these are like seeds that have been fertilized and we're all in the same soil.
Yeah.
And everybody's plants are starting to intertwine together in the most beautiful way, the
Yeah.
most beautiful way. Where can
Anyway, thank you
everybody?
for having me.
Oh my God, thank you for doing it. I was so excited. I was like, wait, we have to get Tona on. And I think we had reached out. I was like, do not bother him right now. I actually like interviewing people when they're not in the press circuit.
You
It's,
know,
I honestly think the interviews are better. There's certain stars that are like, I'll come when I'm promoting something. I'm like, no, I'd actually like it when you're not promoting anything. You get more earned from these moments than you do when you're in the press junket circuit. It's a factory system. We're just generating and generating content so that people will come and see your content.
yeah.
And I think it's better to have this type of conversation in the valley moments, in the soft moments, in the quiet moments,
Yeah.
if that's even it. Where can everybody follow along with you?
You can follow me anywhere on social media at I am Tonatiuh, Tonatiuh.
Wait, when did you decide to drop the last name and just have your first name as a stage name?
My first job.
Brilliant.
Yeah, when I had
Because I was
to,
looking at IMDb and a couple of them have you credited as your first and last name. And I was like, "Ugh, when did he go just one name
no,
only?"
they technically, no credit should ever bill me as both. I think people aren't used to that, and so they'll do both
Yes.
because it's easily Googleable.
Yeah.
But no, no one should be crediting me as anything other than just my first name. And it's not because like of any, I just, my first name is already difficult for a lot of Americans, and like to have that and the last name, it's going to be very confusing for a lot of folks. Yeah, and like it's the Aztec sun god, so I was just like, people can learn it. It's not that hard.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
You give
But
me
yeah,
it's
Jane the Virgin, I was like my first job ever, 2015, and SAG was like, "What do you want to be billed as?" And I was like, "Just Tonatiuh's fine." But people end up calling me Tona anyway.
I know, but I love it. Yes. I just think it's a great choice. It's very Madonna of you, and I love it.
Whatever. Well, another diva has been born.
100%, and I'm here for it.